Greetings, welcome back to Game Design. This is lesson 23, project adding collision to your game. So again, we're just using the same game that you've been working on this whole time, and this is our example. Again, always remember this is the bare minimum to get high DC. The more you add, the more you think of, the better your grade. And then we'll go ahead and see how to do it from our Pong example. So things we're keeping the same, right? I'm still going to use the counter movement for the paddle. I'm still going to use the same wall collision for the ball, and also I'm still going to use, again, everything you think, I'm still going to use the same thing. If the ball goes off the edge, it resets, right? So those are some of the things I'm going to keep using, right? But what I'm going to change is the ball counter is going to move to velocity. I'm going to add it so when the ball collides with paddles, because that's what we learned in these last couple lessons. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the score, right? We could have done that last time, but I'm going to add it to this one as we're moving forward and making more and more advanced games. What I'm not quite sure, which I know how to do, but yeah, as an example, track and add the score to the screen, right? So that's something you figure out how to do. And then here is the example of what's going on, right? The ball is going to be updated, so instead of having the ball, that's a mistake. All right, you're going to have ball x equals y plus 5. That's what we had. We're going to make it velocity 5, all right? And then plus our dir and all the other fun stuff. And then the same for the y. So I'm going to change how the ball moves using velocity instead of a counter pattern. I'll make the ball collide with the pattern first. So basically kind of just putting it into words, explaining what's going on. Again, the more detail, the better. And then we're going to go ahead and do the game and then finish the reflection. So let's do the game part of it now. So this is the code you should already have if you were following along. What we're going to do is update this. We're going to add the text, and then we're going to add the collision. So let's do first things first. Let's replace these. So if we go to sprites, and I'm going to leave this just so we can kind of see them mixed together. All right, so pull in that sprite velocity and that sprite velocity. And we're still going to use the dir, right? So this is another reason why I can just grab this out. So there's the y, there's that, and then I can just get rid of those. And now I have my sprite. I need to call it ball, and I still use my dir because we're still going to use that to make it change around. And we'll see that in a second because the next thing we're going to do is actually that collision. All right, so now we run this and we're still getting our velocity. Everything's still working. So far, so good. All right, let's add some control. We're going to add our if statements because we need the if collision. And sprites, we're going to use the is touching. Now eventually we'll learn even more advanced things to make this even easier for your final project. But for now, again, if the ball is touching L paddle, if the ball is touching R paddle, make sure you have the capitalization right, then we're going to bounce. Now we already have the bounce, right? We're bouncing the X, so we have this line of code right here. All right, this is the line of code to bounce, so we're going to copy that into this. And now we have our bounce. Let's go ahead and try that, right? So I'm going to move the cursor down. It's random, so look at that. All right, so we got bounce. All right, so I'm going to leave that alone for now. We have, actually, I'll reset it so it works better. Now we can have the two things we already talked about, right? We did the bounce. We did the velocity change. And again, it might take a little bit more thinking on how to do this for yourself, right? Where it fits, where it works well. But the last part we're going to do is go ahead and make it so if they go off the screen, we score a point. Now, we already have the code for if the ball goes off the screen. We need to create our var score L for the left paddle. And then we need our var score R, the right paddle, start at 0. That should make sense. And then we are going to use a counter pattern for this, so we need to go into when they actually score a point, right? So this is the left-hand side, right? Less than 0 is over here. So if that scores, the right one scores, right? So score R equals score R plus 1. And then I'm going to copy that. And if it goes off the right-hand side, the left paddle gets a score. All right. Now when we run this, clicked too fast, right? We run this. Don't see any score, right? Don't see any score. So let's go ahead and pull this up, add a watcher, score L, enter, and 4, right? So this not going up, it should go up here now, and they're 5, right? So this left paddle is getting score when it goes off this side. So let's go ahead and shrink that down, reset it. How do we get it to show up? All right. Well, hopefully you remember the text command under drawing. I'm going to do a few things first. Now, again, if you have, and you should have a background, especially if your background is a sprite, which a lot of you did because it's easier to just grab a sprite and make it your background. If you draw sprites and you put the text up here, it's not going to work, right? So let's get enter. Let's put the text under the draw sprites, because remember at the bottom shows up on top, right? Because if you put the text down and then the background after that, you know, it's like putting the text down first and then a piece of paper on top of it, right? So let's go ahead. And I know I'm going to need this for this, so you can probably see it, but let's do font size and let's make that 20. And then we need 2 text, all right? So grab the text command and the text command again. And then I'm going to have this one as the left one. So let's go ahead and let's make it go 20 over. And 15 down is fine. And this one we're going to make like, let's go 350 over. We might have to change that in a second. And 15 down, so 350 over, 15 down. That might be still too big. Now here, I'm going to show you a couple things, right? And I'm going to only do one of them. So if this is on this side, this is the left score. So score L. And we run the, here's something important, right? If you do this, score R, and you run it, you'll notice this is 0, this is score L. So I think 350 is not enough. I'm going to move this to 300 because can't even see the R. But if you put the quotes around it, as we mentioned before, that is a string, so therefore you see what it says. Score L has no string because it's a variable, and you can see it's working, right? Whenever it goes over here, that 6 should go up. Now, you might want to say what the score is. There you go, just went up. Reset this. Okay, that should be enough. And in this case, if I type in score, I mean, I'm just doing score colon so I can see it, and then outside of the quotes plus score R, right? That's the name of the variable. So score L, score R. We'll actually be able to see the score, right? And be able to score. I'll just go store there. All right. So reset, run, score equals 0. They get a 1, 2. That's this one right here. Now this one off the other side, that's this one here. It doesn't have that. So whatever you're trying to do, this is an easy way to do it. Now, if you remember from lesson 20, when you did it with code.org, right? This is not, you're not using the code.org one as a reminder. This is your game. You did 2 separate lines. You did score and then text, and you had to move the X and the Y. This is the proper way to do it. Just put it together with concatenation, and that allows you to do it all in one line. But that's it, right? We did the 3 things we wanted. Our game is now pretty much 95% effective, right? There's no way to win or lose per se, but I mean, we now can at least, typed it in on accident. All right, we can now at least move stuff around and actually play this game. This is definitely not perfect, right? We'll get to some code that makes it bounce or whatever, but for most intents and purposes, as long as you do a good bounce, we have a good, fully functioning game. So with that, you would finish up. What are you proud of? Why? And then most important, what did you try to prove, right? I would like to at some point add AI, which we will end up doing when we go to do our final, make this all one game. So when you're ready to do yours, you'll have to make the same, at least the bare minimum standards, and hopefully a lot more. So with that, that's all I have for this lesson, this project. We'll see you next one.